Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is May 7th. And so we're going to talk about something kind of new that we didn't discuss very much before the break, but it's actually pretty simple. So we went ahead and decided to go over it. So today we're going to be talking about dot plots. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started and do some work together. All right, so I went ahead and wrote in here this little blurb in here because I didn't have it. So this gives us just that quick little description about what a, oh, it is blurry, sorry. There we go. So this is just our definition of what a dot plot is. So it tells us that a dot plot is a graph that shows the frequency of data along a number line. Now, when we talk about frequency, that's how many times do we see that number, okay? So once we start working on it and going through it, you're going to realize, oh, yeah, this is pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to look at the first example, which is going to break it down really, really simple for us, which is going to help us. So it says, the dot plot shows the lengths of the buttons in Jen's collection. For an art project, she wants to know how many buttons in her collection are longer than 1/4 or 1/4. How can she use a dot plot to find the answer? So they went ahead and drew out the dot plot here. So we're just going to break it down so we see what each component means. So it tells us, count the number of dots above each of the button lengths on the dot plot. So there are blank dots above 1/4. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, a big thing that I make sure that I do, which I suggest that we should do, is it's just like when we're talking about fractions and models, label everything, okay? And they're always going to give you kind of a legend, which explains what each of the dots are going to equal. So right there, it tells us that each dot stands for one button, okay? So I'm going to give you a quick second, actually, if you don't mind, to go ahead and look at what I've got, okay? Sorry, this thing's acting funny. All right, so we're going to look and see what each dot is worth and then go through and break it all apart. So each dot stands for just one button. So 1, 2, 3, 3. Next one, let's look at the 1/2. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 3 here. Okay. All right, so we've got that going for you. So now we're going to go back down here. How many dots were above 1/4? We come and look. There were 3. How many are above 1/2? 4. How many are above 3/4? 5. And then how many are above 4/4, which we know also equals 1/2? We had 3. Since we're trying to find the number of buttons that have a length greater than blank, count the number of dots above the other fractions to find the answer, okay? So we want to answer the question they asked us at the top, okay? She wants to know how many buttons in her collection are longer than 1/4. That's what we're looking for. So we're trying to find the amount that has a length greater than 1/4. So we're going to count the number of dots above the other fractions to find the answer. So we want to know how many in total do they have that's higher than this one right here? Which means, like they just said, all we're going to do is count all the dots. And since we've already added them up here, we can just add these totals together. So 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 3, 10, 11, and 12. So 12 buttons in Jen's collections are longer than 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch. Now, let's go down to these other extra questions I have here. How many buttons does Jen have in her collection? Okay, we know that all of these right here equal 12. So then we'll just add 3 to that. So she has 15. Next question, how many buttons are less than 3/4 inch long? Okay, so here's 3/4. We want to count the ones that are less than it. So I've got 4 and 3 is 7. Okay. Next question. What is the difference in length between the longest button and the shortest button in Jen's collection? So we need to look at that. So obviously our lowest one and our highest one. So our highest one here is 3. And then my lowest one here is 3. What is the difference? Well, 3 minus 3, 0. Okay. So this is just a few different questions with, oh, I'm sorry, I actually answered that wrong. I'm sorry. So what is the difference in length? That's what I was looking for, between the longest and the shortest. So longest and the shortest. So the longest was 4/4, okay? The shortest was 1/4. And we know when we're looking at that word difference, I'm gonna subtract. So 4/4 minus 1/4 is gonna equal, we know my denominator stays a 4. I subtract the top, so it's actually gonna be 3/4. Okay, let's go on to our next ones. Our next example, and it tells us it's a multi-step problem, so we're gonna have a few different things to do. Some of the students in Miss Lee's class walk around the track during recess. The dot plot shows the distances that the students walked. How many more students walked 1 or more miles than walked less than a mile? So this is breaking it down step by step for us to make it easier to understand and know what to do. Step 1, count the number of dots above 7/10, 8/10, and 9/10. They're already telling us what we already know to do, which is to label it, okay? So I've got over 7/10, there's 1. 8/10, 1, 2, and 3. 9/10, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 whole, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 1/10, 1, 2. 1 and 2/10, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3/10 is 1, and then 1 and 4/10 is 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we've got it all broken down here. So I want you to remember the way that they're doing this for us is they're kind of making it super easy and step by step for us to know what to do. So that's why the first examples that we're doing are just going to be step by step. That's going to help us to really understand it, especially when it's something new that we are barely learning about. All right, back to this. So now that we've labeled everything, we can go back and answer all our questions, okay? So it tells us to count the numbers above 7, 8, and 9/10. So we're going to see what we got. I've got 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay, plus 5 more is going to give me 9. So 9 students walked less than, what was the question? It said less than 1 or more miles. So walk less than 1 mile. That was what the question was. Step 2, count the number of dots above, pretty much above 1 mile. So we've got 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 1 more is 11, plus 3 is going to be 14. So 14 students, okay? Now, step 3 says that we're setting up the 2, I'm sorry, because we want to know the difference. How many more students walked 1 or more miles than walked less than a mile? So 14 is my biggest number. My smaller one is 9, so I'm just subtracting the 2. Now, again, for some people, they like to do it this way. Whatever your heart desires, okay? 10, 11, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it gives us 5. So 5 more students walked 1 or more miles than walked less than a mile. Okay, so again, the dot plots is literally you're labeling it just how it is and either finding the difference between some or just depends on the question that they ask. All right, so that again was step by step. So now we can move in to some regular work. All right, so here is my dot plot here. We're going to go from there. Number 1, a restaurant manager collected data on the length of times customers waited for their food. He represented the data he collected in a dot plot. How many customers waited for 15 minutes for their food? Okay, so this is a different time. So first of all, I need to go ahead and label. So it tells us, think, count the number of dots above 15. Yes, we're going to do that after we label. So for 14, 1, 2, 3, 4. 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 16, 1, 2, 3. 17, 1, 2. 18, 1, 2, 3. 19 was 1, 2. I've got 1 here and 1 here. All right, so how many? So we're going to fill in, there are blank dots above 15 on a dot plot. So we're going to start here. We're not counting 15. We're counting everything past it. So I've got 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 3 more is 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 dots above the 15. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed that part up. What? I'm sorry, I'm so off today, guys. We're looking at just above the 15. I'm sorry, and that's going to be 5. I am so off today, my bad. So blank people waited 15 minutes for their food. 5 people. Number 2, how many people did the restaurant manager collect data about? So that means we need to add the total together. So I actually already counted these here. We're 15. So let me add 5 is 20 plus 4 more is 24. 24. Number 3, how many people waited 17 minutes or less for their food? So 17 minutes less. So anything past here is what we're looking for. So 2 and 3 is, 2 and 3 is 5. Another 5 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. 14, and actually I need to write this out. I'm sorry, 14 people. Number 4, how many more people waited 17 minutes or less than waited 19 minutes or more? Okay, so that's our second one. Go through here. Sorry, guys. All right, so how many more people waited 17 minutes or less than 19 minutes or more? So 17 or less. So we already said that 17 or less was 14 people. Okay, then less than, this right here tells us subtraction, 19 minutes or more. So let's look, 19 minutes or more. So 2, 3, 4. So I'm subtracting the 2. So 10 people. Okay. All right, we're going to do a few more questions and then we will be done. So we're going to use this to answer our questions here. All right, so first of all, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to label my dot plot first, okay? So this is the number of eruptions each day. So 1, 2, 3. And guys, literally all you're doing is counting the dots. That is it. It's so easy. And then you'll use that to answer your questions, okay? All right, Aaron and his family took a trip to a national park. He made a dot plot to show the number of eruptions made by a geyser each day for 20 days. How many eruptions occurred the most number of days? So we're going to just look and see which one is the highest number. 5. That's going to be for 17, guys. So simple, I promise. Number 9, what is the least number of eruptions the geyser has in one day? Okay. What is the least? The least number of eruptions the geyser has in one day. What do we think that's going to be? Okay. Kind of got a mixture between the two. So let's look and see what do we think it's going to be. So looking at this, this can actually be a trick question for a lot of us because if we look at our dot plot, which one has the least amount? So there was only one set of 13, but there was also only one set of 15. So they both have a 1 next to it. However, which one is the smallest number? 13. Okay, so that's why it's going to be C. That means there was only one set of 13 in that day, okay? Next one, how many more times does the geyser have 17 daily eruptions than it has 15 and 16 eruptions combined? So first of all, we need to do these things. When we see combined, we're adding them together. So 15 and 16 together, I've got 3 and 4. So this is going to be 4. How many do we have for 17? Let's go look and see. 5. So now that I've combined them, that was my first of adding. How many more? That tells me subtraction. So 5 minus 4, it would equal 1. Okay. All right, last one. How many times did Aaron, let me scoot this up, sorry, and his family see either 12, 13, or 15 eruptions? Okay, so 12, 13, 14, or 15. So let's label them. So I might go here and just label each of these to see what to do, okay? So 12, there were 3. 13, when I look up there, there was 1. 14, there's 3. 15, 1. How many times did Aaron and his family see either of them? So then we're just going to add our totals together, okay? 3 and 3 is 6. 1 and 1 is 2, which gives me 8. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you is going to be some bonus questions for you to do. So this is going to be our daily graph, and I want you to do number 10 and number 11 and 12. So we're just going to do just this top part right here. And remember, take a second, pause it, record what you need to record, and we'll go from there. So if you get them done, send me 10, 11, and 12, and make sure you are labeling your dot plots with it. So once you have all that done, just send it all to me, and then we'll go from there. Thanks.